Marty Supreme is the latest film backed by indie darling studio A24, easily one of their biggest to date, both financially and, I think more crucially to contextualize their bit of information, in scope. It stars Timothée Chalamet as hustler and professional table tennis player Marty Mauser in a globe-trotting thriller propelled by his desire to be the greatest table tennis player in the world, which, in turn, complicates things for him and the people around him. A discussion about Marty Supreme inevitably needs to begin with praise for the eponymous protagonist. Ignore the 1950s temporal setting for now. Marty is such a contemporary character with his need to prove himself as the very best in his field. For him, it's table tennis. There's something in the modern era where a sense of accepted nonchalance from decades prior has been deemed as uncool, and now to the drive to greatness, a theme which one may decry as overplayed, but I won't, that has gained a new position in popular culture. By all means, Marty Mauser is, by design in the Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein fashion, an inherently unlikable character. He's a manipulative, impulsive, inconsiderate guy. And yet Safdie and Bronstein align us with Marty. This isn't Good Time, nor is it Uncut Gems. I consider those films to be, when boiled down to the most primal archetypal story type, to be Icarus stories. The tension builds and builds before, ultimately, collapsing in catastrophic ways. This time, the script is flipped. I don't believe Marty is the same type of Icarus figure as Connie or Howard. No, my reading is that Marty is a corruption of the Don Simpson / Jerry Bruckheimer high-concept protagonist, as internalized and demonstrated by a fair number of Tom Cruise films in the 80s and 90s. Marty Supreme is Top Gun, with ping-pong rackets. The general outline. Young hero knows he's the best, encounters a mentor to train him in his craft, has romantic interest to train his rambunctious spirit. Young hero grows and proves himself on the biggest stage. When it comes to the most basic of basics, Marty Supreme is high concept, but inverted, making the young hero an inherently unlikable, yet driven by an understandable ambition which causes one's eyes to be glued to the screen, Safdie scumbag. He's relatable but, more importantly, embodies contemporary hustler culture and the nightmarish dream of it all. It would not have come anywhere near its high highs without Chalamet as Marty Mauser. More than any other actor we have right now, Chalamet is the most open about his wish to be regarded as one of the best to do it. A sentiment which, although likely true, is also possibly a heightening of public persona to make the drawing of comparisons between both him and the character of Marty blatant. Naturally, Chalamet is a charming guy, but it's his lack of aversion towards scummy characters that has made him, in my opinion, one of the guys to watch, and the first of what I'm hoping is a new roster of genuine movie stars. That would likely be a discussion for another day. Marty is presented as brutally honest as he could be. There's no sanding down of his edges to make him more palatable. Timothée Chalamet understands exactly what's needed of him and carries the film with a spark, which makes every metaphorical collision the character makes with those around him such a thrilling, entertaining joyride out of a character who would have otherwise been very likely to alienate and frustrate people. There is, even if you detest the character's actions, the ability to empathize with this broken, juvenile individual. To hammer in my prior point about the 1980s high-concept delusions is the masterful score by Daniel Lopatin, which is heavily synthwave inspired. Aside from providing an anachronistic identity, the 80s-ness of the score, in contrast with the setting of 1950s New York amidst a plethora of other locations, and the very 2020s-esque hustler character that is Marty Mauser, the music is propulsive. A belief when it comes to the use of such music, something I realized and took from upon a viewing of Surat, is that electronic music isn't really meant to be listened to, but, instead, danced to. Lopatin does with that general vibe and imbues it into the auditory fabric of the film. Sonically, Marty Supreme is non-stop, and in constant motion. Not just confined to the central character, Marty Supreme is one of the best original screenplays of the year. Although I believe the film to have been birthed from conventional filmmaking methods, it doesn't stay like that for long. It is truly unpredictable, in a way which few films are, or have ever been. A major part of this unpredictability is a matter of scope. Many films seek to transport an audience to whole new worlds with VFX and stagecraft, but the stories themselves still seem medium-sized to small. Don't have an issue with that. It keeps stories intimate amidst such huge settings. Safdie and Bronstein managed to create a legitimate world, one which feels alive beyond the textual horizon, and what I as an audience member believe I haven't seen anywhere near everything that's available within the physical setting. which never loses sight of its internal character piece. There are brief tangents following characters where we get slight glimpses into rich character histories that don't necessarily push the plot forward, but they don't have to. The world is enriched by the involvement of the more minor characters. The main supporting cast is also undeniably great, with the clear standouts being Odessa Zion and Abel Ferrara. To state my point again, I think everyone is great in this film, but those two are the ones who popped off screen the most. Zion is able to match Chalamet's intensity with the very loud New York personality that is a fundamental part of the Safdie filmography. Then, on the other hand, is Ferrara, who I did not know was this good of an actor. Director? Yeah, I knew he was good, but this was a shock. There's the same kind of vibe as Chalamet and Zion at particular points, but, to avoid spoiling much, the portrayal of his character throughout the film is a delight in how off the rails it becomes. Marty Supreme is, amidst many things, one of my favourites of the year. No, I do not think that is recency bias. And is maybe, just maybe, proof that we can have good actors as movie stars now. Real, proper movie stars. I specifically tried to avoid Josh v. Benny Safdie comparisons because they're both very clearly after different things with their 2025 directorial offerings. Suffice to say, I think Marty Supreme is a masterpiece, if my incessant gushing for this film up until now didn't suggest that. Marty Supreme. 5 stars. Well, that's all. Keep on watching movies and form your own opinions. See you in the next one.